Yeah, so I would say that it's not about AI art versus human art. AI art is never going to replace human art. The reason AI scientists are interested in art because it would provide us a better way of understanding art. Think about it. You look at a phenomenon or a piece of art, music, or whatever it is. You you evaluate that based on some features, right? And as a human being, you are aware of some features consciously, and then there's some unconscious understanding, right? AI, when AI looks at that phenomenon or the piece of art, it would also find some features, but then those features may not be the features that you use to identify that particular picture or art, right? So the nude art that was shown, I really like that because to me it's not a distorted representation. This is the way AI would perceive that piece of art, and this is a very interesting example of how AI perceives reality, and that is different from us, and that difference is the power of AI. It's not the limitation of AI. It's a distortion from our perspective, but from the perspective of AI, it's not a distortion. Maybe these are the relevant features, essential features that are important to identify or understand a piece of art. And as a human being, I'm curious to understand what are the features that AI would think are relevant for judging or evaluating the value of a piece of art. So I think the role of AI here is complementary. It's not for replacing. I'm not imagining a future in which we would only have AI artists, AI musicians. That's a far-fetched imagination. It's not like that. You have to consider AI as a kid who is playing with different ideas, who's trying to learn, do experiments, and art, music, these are some expressions of that kid. And eventually that kid would grow up and would mature, and then we would have a better future, and we can imagine that future now. It's too early.
I'd like to just go one step farther, which is to say that I think that fundamentally, like, AI art and music is always going to be a derivative of human art. That AI art can only be as good as the training data. And where is the training data coming from? I mean, it's coming from humans. I don't know. I just feel like also if you think about what is the value of art, I think part of it is a reflection of human beings, of humans' interior life, complexities, things like that. That I just don't know that it's going to resonate with humans in the same way. But anyway, it's an interesting question.
So I'm not sure that the word derivative is quite right. So the examples that we've seen are from the classical machine learning. You dump a bunch of art in and see what comes out. It's entirely possible AI might do a study of the human cognitive system and realize there's a type of art that can be created that lets us perceive things that no human has ever created before. It's not really derivative. I'm not sure that it's art in the human sense, though. It's a tool that might allow artists then to discover, oh wow, here's a new way of creating sensory perceptions that I can incorporate into my art. So we might learn from AI new things about the human experience. And that's really cool. That's really powerful. And it questions the nature of what it is to be art. Can you have art that wasn't created by a human for a human? That's a art philosophy question. I don't know the answer to it, but it certainly isn't necessarily derivative, and we can learn from it, which is interesting collaboration.
Yeah, and another aspect is that most of the human art is derivative anyway, right? How do you learn to paint or compose a piece of music? You are trained with a lot of data as a human being. You have to understand that. And when we build AI, we just mimic that in a sophisticated fashion. So society needs the derivative art. You want for your game, you want background music. For your movie, you want background music. And you don't really want to hire a Mozart to compose that piece of music for you, right? So it's okay to have a derivative music for that particular commercial product. And with AI, we can relieve human beings from doing that, quote unquote derivative kind of, music or art. There was this philosopher Leibniz. He envisioned this dream that one day we would have this universal, computation machine, and when we have that machine, we can, avoid doing a lot of tedious things that we were doing back then, so that we can have leisure time, produce original art, original, things. So if we can have AI doing derivative things, and I think that's good for us.
Yeah, so what is the university's response to this overwhelming interest in AI? Are they planning to, I don't know, is there initial talk of making more departments in the different colleges that, are interdisciplinary, maybe philosophy and AI professors that study that branch? Is there maybe rumors about starting a new college for artificial intelligence or something like that? What are their plans right now? And what are some
Let me give you an upsetting answer.
More upsetting.
How many people in this department are doing research on AI? How many people are doing research on machine learning? In the last 3 years, how many people we have hired for machine learning, for AI? If we haven't done that, if there are a handful of people, 2 or 3, then that's the answer to your question. We don't have any initiative. We are not responding to that need. I don't know why. I'm in the faculty, but I don't know why. Honestly, I have no idea. And it surprises me. AI is something. It's the reality. You can't avoid that. We have to accept it, good or bad, and we have to prepare ourselves. We have to be literate about AI. The multi-dimensional impact of AI on our life, we have to respond to that, but we don't have any preparation for that. But fundamentally, AI is a technical thing, and we have to have that technical literacy, and that should begin from this department, and we don't have that preparation, which is upsetting.
So I'll add a layer to that. The simple answer, as far as I know, is none. I believe assistant professor, assistant. So I'm assistant. I just went up for, just got tenure, so I'm no longer an assistant. But the reason I'm saying this is, as faculty members, our incentives are to get tenure and promotion. And most departments, and this isn't about UNL, this is everywhere in the academy, have no idea what to do with interdisciplinary work. Our incentives are right in our narrow field and our narrow subfield, and anything you do with someone else in another college or department, why are you doing that? You'll talk to people who will advise us, don't attend panels like this, because it's not going to help you with your scholarship. It's not going to help you get tenure and achieve your academic dreams. And much of the most important work that's done at universities and research institutions over the last 100 years has been interdisciplinary. It's been at weird centers, weird programs that create fusions and create collaborations. This is an awesome discussion. It's awesome that we're bringing multiple disciplines together to have this discussion, and we need more of it. So I would turn this back to you and say, as students, reach out to your faculty, reach out to the university, when you have opportunities to tell them, what do you want more of? Tell them, we want more interdisciplinary stuff. We want more opportunities to work with people in other departments. We want more opportunities for faculty to come together and work on stuff, because universities today are very responsive to student demand. And if you're saying, this is what we want, then that creates opportunities for us to do that sort of work and to create these sort of fusions and centers.
Okay, we're running out of time, but I would like to give each of the speakers an opportunity to give a brief kind of concluding, maybe takeaway note about the discussion.
Starting with you.
Everything I just said, thank you for letting me talk far too much.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the university is going to play a critical role in the future of work and the future of technology, and I think that it's not a given that the university is going to keep up with the needs and the future of AI, and sort of it is up to you guys as students to push that, as Gus was saying. Yeah.
Yeah, so my concluding remark would be this. AI is the reality, and I know that you're interested about AI. The best way to experience AI is to learn AI. And the best way to learn AI is to learn statistics. If you want to learn AI, to get expert in AI, you have to learn statistics, you have to learn philosophy. Before you learn coding, before you learn Python, remember, if you don't learn statistics, you're doomed. You can't be successful. You just learn some, Lego-like building blocks of AI, and it would not take you anywhere. So if you don't have this habit of, deep thinking about AI, look at AI from a very deep perspective, then you can be successful. So to be successful, please learn statistics, please learn philosophy, and then jump into this AI adventure.
So, since we never really said anything about what AI is, maybe I'll wrap up with that. So, we've been talking mostly about very specific competencies that you can program a machine to carry out quickly and efficiently, right? So, there are certain tasks, those tasks make up a job. As we've heard, you can program a machine to carry out those tasks with a high degree of efficiency. But when philosophers have been talking about AI for a very long time, it's usually because they're interested in answering this question. Could you build a machine, as opposed to generating a human being in more interesting ways, could you build a machine that would effectively be an intelligent thinking being in the way that you think of all of yourselves as intelligent thinking beings? So this transcends just having competence in some narrow field, right? So whatever those tasks are that thinking and judging and so on and so forth are, can we build a machine that can do that? And the parts of AI that are fascinating beyond the I want to get rich doing it, or it's a thing that I can get a quick job in, or whatever it is, part of, I think, the fascination with it is, can I create a being that is effectively a kind of thinking being? And that depends on what it is to think, and whether it's right to think of, as many people do, the human mind as something like a computational engine, right? So that thinking is a kind of computation. If it is, then we can definitely build AI that can do that, because we're already doing it in the more fun ways with human beings all the time, right? So if you want to try and figure that out, that is one of the reasons why you want to do something beyond the technical skills, which are super important. You also want to try and figure out these more fundamental philosophical issues. So this turned into an advertisement to take more philosophy classes, but hey, you should do that too. So thank you very much. Yeah.
And then go to law school.
Philosophers do all law school.
Thank you guys very much. It kind of feels like we might be a part two.